Okay, so discussing the topic of geometry in chess, this position is a puzzle that I created. You may not know, I don't play chess professionally anymore. Now I'm more of a commentator, but lately I've been a puzzle creator. I just make stuff up. And I had to tell you, it's like a vice. As much as it is a pleasure, I do this so much, it's ridiculous. I wake up and some idea comes in my head, and I'll be in bed for like another 2 hours going, how will it work? And I'll come up with this and that and some craziness. And finally, hopefully, I make up a puzzle and then I can get out of bed. It's really, really bad. It's like an addiction. I remember when I had COVID back in April, I was stuck in bed and I made up two of my best puzzles ever. And I call them the COVID puzzles. So I was so creative during that time period. Like it was incredible. And I like literally two of my favorite puzzles I've ever created. And I was on my back like, crap. Oh, wait a minute. There's an idea. I started putting it. I do it on my phone. So I like pick my phone up and I have an app on my phone and I start putting the position in and I come up with stuff. All right. Anyway, that's not to say, let's get to the idea of geometry in chess. Chess is really geometry. And to me, geometry in motion. It's pieces that move in basically straight lines. Even the knight moves in a straight line if you think about it, from point A to point B, even though we think of knights as moving in L shape, but that's only in English, right? Because there's no L in like Russian. So it's just a shape, but it's targeting from one square to the next square. And you can draw a straight line between those squares, just not on the chessboard because it looks like 64 distinct squares. So the chessboard itself is like a grid, and the pieces are moving along that grid. So they themselves have like geometric shapes. If you think of the rook, the way the rook moves in straight lines, up and down, sideways, the bishop is a diagonal, the queen is a combination piece. And they're moving, and the strength of a chess player is the ability to track the geometric movements of the pieces in ways that make sense, that will be effective. And that's just really what great players are able to do. So the more you appreciate the geometry of the board and ideas that are related to the geometry of the board, the more you'll find great moves in chess. And there are many, many geometric ideas. The one I'm going to show you today, I'm going to show you two puzzles. This one features one of my favorites, and it's an unusual idea anyway, it's white to move and win in this position. A little bit of a strange looking position because the white king really shouldn't be all the way down the board where it is right now. The white king isn't just a very, very strange square, but it's trapped as well. Like it can't move at the moment. So white to move and win, and the final position will seem very unusual. Think about this position, and now let's see, when you see the final position, you say that's the final position. So in this position, white has to be a bit careful because black is actually threatening to play this check as well, which would win the queen. So white has a little bit of a problem to deal with. So instead of thinking about winning the game, white even has to think about not losing the game. Forget about, I'm going to win. Like, how do I not lose? So one idea is to play rook takes rook, and that stops the threat. And not only that, it seems like if you take back, then I play king takes with check, and then I'm just going to give checkmate in a couple of moves. And that's awesome. Like, yeah, that's going to win the game. Unfortunately for white, rook takes rook does not work because black has what we call an in-between move, or intermezzo is the fancy term for it. And that move, since the bishop is hanging, is to move the bishop back out of danger. Now the bishop is no longer in trouble. You didn't take back your rook, but white is under the threat of queen to g6 mate, which doesn't give white time to save the rook as well. White has to like start dancing, play some move like queen h5, and then black takes the rook back, and now it's going to be a whole bunch of checks to the king. In fact, it's already a draw after the queen blocks check, and you have no choice but to go into this repetition, and black is able to save the game. So that doesn't work. Rook takes rook, we go back to the original position, doesn't work. But the threat is rook h4 check, so how to stop that? Well, the only move is the counterintuitive, and I love that word. Instead of it being your intuition, you have to train your counter-intuition. And the counterintuitive move, f7. What's so good about this move? It guards the h4 square. No more rook h4, right? That's the first thing. The second thing that it does is it opens up this diagonal, this long diagonal here to the king. So now a bishop can get on that diagonal, like bishop f6 check, suddenly becomes a possible move in the position. So what is black to do here? Black has to play the move bishop takes pawn. And I mean, bishop takes pawn looks like entirely reasonable as well. Like, why wouldn't I do this move? Because now suddenly black threatens mate on g6, right? Sorry, not there, but there, right? So this move is threatened, mate. Queen g6 is mate. So what is white to do about that? Turns out white has only one reasonable move, and that is the move bishop to g5. Bishop g5 stops queen g6 mate and threatens a rook. And one of my favorite things about this move is that it's a backwards move. And in chess, the geometry of the board, you can spin the board all you want. Any direction you go in is the same. Forwards, backwards is the same. And that is a geometric idea you have to get used to. The ability to see backwards moves, moves that go in the other direction from your target. Those are the counterintuitive moves that turn you into a really good chess player. One of the counterintuitive ideas that turn you into a really good chess player. So now black is in trouble with this rook. This rook has to solve this problem. And the only move really is rook takes rook. Now white does not trade off. In fact, white plays the counterintuitive queen to h8, queen to a8, excuse me, check. Black has only one move now, and that's bishop back. And now it looks like black is completely safe. And I'm going to give you this position right here to just think on it for a second. And those of you who think you see what white should do next, you can type your answer in to the chat. Like, just type your answer in. White to move now and win the game. Because white is down a rook, mind you. So white has to find a really cool move that wins the game.
We've got one from Guinevere. Do you see Guinevere? Guinevere was the first one, I think, to answer Queen A1, which was also answered by Laurel and Sarah. Yeah, that's right. Sarah, Laurel, and Guinevere have all said Queen A1, as awesome. Did Joelanthia.
Exactly. So the queen started on the H1 square, goes to the other corner entirely, A8, and then goes to another corner on A1 to attack the king at the final corner on H8. All four corners of the board come into play in this combination, and the A1 square, which is usually not a key attacking square, turns out to be a crushing move, because now when you play rook takes queen, white plays bishop to f6 with check. Your only move is to play queen here, and bishop takes g7 is mate. Now, from the original position, you could probably didn't guess like this is going to be the final position. That's something I like about puzzles. Like the first position, you're like, okay, that's the position. What's going to win the game? It turns out it's going to be this bishop mating. And all the while, white started with the fact that white was the one who was under attack, that white was under threat and had to play two defensive moves. So that is an example of chess geometry. All right, I am going to share another position. And the next position I'm going to share with you is literally my favorite puzzle that I have ever created. Pure and simple. This is like by far, this is probably the puzzle that, okay, I don't want to be morbid, but someday I'm going to die, as we all are. So, sorry. This is the puzzle you put on my tombstone. Like this is the one you say, hold on a second, Maurice's greatest puzzle was what? And I don't think I'm going to come up with a better puzzle than this one. So here it is. In fact, I'm going to change it slightly. I don't know why I didn't, why I left it as this, because I changed it slightly to be this puzzle. This is it. It looks practically the same and it doesn't really change much, but I want the queen on A1 for a reason. The queen is on A1 again. Remember that queen on A1 before? A1 is the magic square. Like A1 is, who think A1 is a magic square? This is where I'm going to put the queen. And this puzzle, I'm going to tell you how hard this puzzle is. I gave this puzzle to 27 50 players and players who were rated over 2,800, in fact. The first person I gave it to was Fabiano Caruana. It tripped him out for a while before he solved it. And then I had to help him at the very end. Then I showed it to Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and Maxime is like, loves puzzles. He loves puzzles. Actually, top chess players love puzzles in general. They love studies. They use them in order to really develop their counterintuition, their creativity, ability to really see the geometry of the board. So I gave it to Maxime, and MVL we call him. So we were at a party, and I said, Maxime, I have this puzzle. And he goes, really? And he's from France. Really, Maurice? So I go, yeah, it's a really hard one. And he goes, Maurice, you don't know. What? Apparently, he's one of the greatest puzzle solvers of all the grandmasters. I actually, when I gave this to Anish and told him, Anish Giri, Anish was like, yeah, Maxime is actually quite good at solving these things. I was like, okay, well, when I gave it to him, so he figured he's going to solve it like that, like he usually does. He sat down. We were in Madrid during the World Championship at a party. And he sits down in front of the board, and he sits there for 10 minutes, and he can't figure out the puzzle. And I'm laughing, right? And I'm walking around, having fun, sipping whatever I'm sipping. And Maxime, 10 minutes later, he has to solve the pot. Come over, hey, Maxime, you figured it out yet? He's like, so I leave. Then somebody calls him away. He has to go do something. He comes back to the board, and then he tells me the first part of the solution. I go, yeah, you're like a third of the way there now. And he grumble. So he looks again, and he keeps looking. 10 minutes later, he has to leave again. And then about 20 minutes later, he comes back to me, and he says the final move that lets me know that he solved the puzzle. And I'm like, okay, very good job. I gave this to Alireza Firouzja, who you may know. It took him a day and a half, the young phenom who was number 2 in the world at one point. And I gave it to Anish Giri, who was probably the fastest person to figure it all out. So it is white to move and win in this position. This looks like a regular chess position that you could have just in a game, except the queen's on A1. The queen just happens to be on A1, like I said, because I like it there. White to move and win. I would give this to Pontus Carlsen and Jennifer Shahadi and ask them to solve it. And I guarantee you they'll take half an hour or more. I mean, this is not an easy puzzle to get to the final position. I'm going to ask people, let's start up with asking people what they think should be the first move. White to move, first move, what should it be? And you can throw out your solutions. I've been talking a long time, so you should have some idea. And I know, Delilah, you raise your hand. Feel free to write your move. Don't even bother. Just write your move in, whatever you think the right move should be. First move. Trust me, it goes on for like 14 moves. So we're just going to start the party off as we go down this chess geometry road.
Yeah, we got Jalanthia has suggested queen to H1, and Francisca has suggested queen D1.
All legit tries.
Guinevere, queen E1.
All right, so we got choices. Where to put the queen? Is it D1? Is it H1? Is it E1? Like all those moves are all valid moves, and every strong player has tried one of those 3 moves, including other strong players I've shown this position to who didn't solve the puzzle. I won't mention those things. The correct move, drum roll, is queen E1. All right, queen E1, we all see that this pawn is a very strong pawn, and if we could somehow take this H4 pawn, it's going to be made in 2, right? At the same time, we're attacking this rook twice. It is a sacrifice of a rook, but you can't take this rook, obviously, because check and checkmate, game over. If only the puzzle was that easy. Let's back up. Black has a rook under attack, cannot afford to lose the rook or will go down too much material. So black's only move now is to play rook to F4. That's the only move. That keeps the game going. Okay, now that you have 2 moves, you have the first move in, let's get quick guesses as to the next move. This one probably is easier than the first one because there's less choice for white, really, to make this position work. So what is your next guess?
Shiloh, Bernice, Abigail, Jalanthia, Mwangi have all guessed G3. Elizabeth as well?
G3 is a nice little trappy move. Unfortunately, the black rook can move like to E4. if you play G3. Black will not fall for the trap of taking and allow mate. So the black rook can move in that position. So I would say it's not G3. So I'll give you 10 seconds real quick to figure out the next move.
Queen E5. Now everybody's guessing Queen E5.
Excellent job. Queen E5, new threat. Now we're going to H5. It's a very important moment to defend exactly like this. I mean, to attack exactly like this. Now black is in a little bit of trouble. There's only one way to defend against this Queen H5. The rook is, by the way, hanging at the moment. You cannot play Queen F5 because the back rank is vulnerable. You'll have to bring your queen back, and then queen takes bishop. White has regained the bishop, and he's got this monster threat of rook to C8 that you have no idea how to deal with. You actually don't have any way to. So that would be crushing. So after queen to E5, by the way, I didn't mention something really important. I want you to remember the initial position. Let's go back to the beginning. This position, how is white going to win? What is the thing that's going to cause white to win? You will never guess what the winning element will be. That's what I love about it. One of the many things I love about this puzzle. What the winning element will be. Chess is like that. It's what is the word I use for it? I want to say evolutionary, but there's another word I use also. The point is that chess, you can't tell from the initial position many times in chess what the win will actually look like at the very end. The nature of the win, because it just evolves over time. And you play this move, followed by this move, followed by this move. At the end, it's like, oh, that's how we win. Either you might have started with a checkmate, but you end up winning a piece, or it's a pass pawn. It's something very different from what your initial goal was, right? And this is what's going to happen in this one. And you see what wins this game. Queen E1, rook F4, Queen E5. So black's only move to deal with this Queen H5 threat is rook to F5. So far, two pretty standard checkmate threats. Now is when the party starts. This next move is geometry in its purest form. Now let's see who finds this one, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to find this move. Well, at least some people. This is a really nice one. What does white do now?
A lot of people are guessing rook F2. I think the first one to mention it was Bernice.
Awesome job, Bernice, and others who have guessed this move. Rook to F2 is exactly right. And this is a geometric idea we call the cross pin. One of my favorite geometric ideas in all of chess. The rook is pinned two ways. You can't take the queen because rook takes queen is mate, and you can't take the rook because queen H5 is mate. Pretty cool move, those of you who found it. This is just the beginning of the party. So black has only one move, and that is to defend that rook since it is under attack. Bishop to C8 guards the rook. And now black, everything is connected around the rook on F5. You see all the pieces? Everything is, the party's on F5 square. The rook is sitting there, bishop guards it, queen guards it, two white pieces attacking it. Now what? All right, who sees, let's get a guess for this next one.
Okay, we've got one guess. Let's see what else we've got. We've got.
Let's get three guesses before we jump in.
Okay, yeah. That's something actually, that's something that Katerina Nemkova, when she comes to teach us, she always has the kids give 3 suggestions. And here we are cumulatively getting that. Let me give what we've got so far. We've got rook F5, G4, Queen E2, Queen D5, and rook F4. So those are the options that people have given so far.
Oh, goodies. My goodness.
Yeah, it's a good candidate move you guys are thinking of. Love it.
Absolutely.
Does somebody want to be unmuted and give their choice today? Let's see. We haven't been doing a lot of that, but
somebody did get. Let's get Delilah since she's been raising her hand.
Yes.
What do you got, Delilah?
Is it rook F4 because then if the, I don't know, like, I don't know what black would do, but you can take the H4 pawn, and then when the king moves to G8, you can play rook H8 and then queen H2. And then
That's just nasty, dangerous people in this building. I love it. Okay. Your most important sentence, Delilah, your threat is definitely on point and it will feature in this puzzle. But the most important thing that you said, the most important of all, is you said, I don't know what black will do. And when we play chess, we've got to know what the other person's going to do. That is one of the single most important qualities we have to have as chess players, is to think about what the other person is thinking. That is, like, the other person's point of view is simply one of the greatest skills that chess players have to develop. We have to assume that the other players are genius. They may not be, or we may not be, but we have to think they're going to think the best idea possible. That's how you got to think. You can't just think, oh, they're going to be stupid, fall for my trick. Like, that's not going to work. So you got to work hard to figure out, well, what will black do if I play this move? So rook f4 is not the correct move. And I'm going to ask you to find out why. This was not part of the puzzle, but I'm going to ask you to find out why. Black faces a terrific threat that Delilah pointed out of taking on h4, rook h8, queen back, and its mate on a stick. What can black do about this threat that's reasonable?
Does somebody want to answer that question? We had a lot of questions up earlier. Bernice?
Black can do queen f6.
So this is the art of defense, right? Because now if you play queen f6, it's going to be like, what can white do about queen f6? The problem with queen f6, Bernice, is that the back rank is now undefended. Queen was busy defending the back row. So if you now play queen f6, white has the very powerful queen to e8 check. And you have no choice but to bring your queen back. And after queen takes, rook takes, rook takes, you are mated. So queen f6 is not an adequate defense to save the game here.
Somebody suggested, Francesca suggested king to g8.
That, Francesca, is the correct defense. King g8 deals with everything. There's no more rook h4 check. The cross pin has disappeared on this spot in both directions. In fact, the cross pin has disappeared, and black in one move has solidified, unified everybody. And you now have no way of winning the game. But in fact, white is now lost. So this doesn't work. Rook f4, that close. But king g8, remember that move. It is constantly a move that black is able to play. So the correct move, I'm going to go back to whoever it was that said this move. The correct move here is to pile up on the party piece, which is the f5 rook, and play the move g4. That's an absolutely fantastic move. Look how many things are guarding f5 or attacking f5. Like, everything is on f5. F5 is like Times Square on New Year's Eve. Everybody's having a party and everybody's showing up to that party as the f5 square. It's incredible, right? The rook is under attack. It cannot move. We've already established that. So there's only one move for black. And luckily, black has this move, pawn takes pawn, en passant, right? So we got an en passant rule in the puzzle. One of the things I like about this puzzle is the kind of things that happen in this puzzle, like an en passant. In black is the one that it happens with, which usually white would like to be the one doing the en passant. So now, your turn, white to move.
We got a lot of answers. Elizabeth, Cassidy, Jolanthia, Delilah, everybody's saying rook to h2 check.
I love puzzles. I love hiding traps inside of my puzzles. I love to hide a little trap. Here's another trap. Everybody, including Mr. Fabiano Caruana, the first time he saw the puzzle, think it's over. I play rook h2 and it's over. Party's done. But we've got to get inside the head of the other person. Is black going to fall for our trap? Black's not going to take the rook. Black's just not going to give you the joy of checkmating. Black's going to play the same nasty move, king to g8, and say, what do you have now? Delilah's idea of playing rook h8 no longer works because there's pawn sitting in the way on g3, so the queen can't get to the h file. There's no move here. You take the pawn, black will play queen f6. That's very important to point out. The queen can now move off the back rank, and now the king is ready to giddy up out of there and run. And by the way, black is ready to attack white with checks. So that will not work in your favor. So after takes en passant, rook h2 is a trap and doesn't work. We're like so close. You're like so close to this. Boop, no, there's a trap. You cannot play that move. This next move is sick. This move is when the puzzle turns like super fun. Really and truly sick next move. Let's give you another chance to find it. You can type it into the solution, into the chat, sorry.
Queen d5, rook takes f5, queen e2. These are some of our suggestions. Queen g3.
The correct move
Has not been mentioned yet?
is queen d5.
Ah, look at that.
Look at the geometry of the queen. Remember how the queen started on a1 and now it wants to go to h1, thanks to the pawn moving to g4, getting out the way. And the cross pin still applies, right? Because the rook can't move off of f5. So by pushing the pawn to g4, you open up the file for this queen to go to this square, so you can play queen h1, and you don't allow king g8. There is no king g8 play in the next move. So what can black do? Black has only one way to stop queen h1. There's nothing else to do to stop queen h1 reasonably. You can't take the rook because of queen h5. You can't take with the pawn because of queen h1. There's only one move, and that move is g2. Only move on the board. So now, what can white do? This puzzle is crazy. We're like a third of the way there, people. This is a sick puzzle.
Jolanthia says rook f4 now.
We got 3 guesses yet? We got rook f4 as a move.
Anyone else? Remember, we need more than one candidate move. Okay, we'll give him a minute. Rook f3 says Guinevere. Queen e4 says Delilah. So that's 3.
That's 3. Okay. So I'm going to refute 2 moves before we get to the correct move. Queen e4 breaks the cross pin, very importantly, although it threatens something huge here. Queen h4 checks, so rook takes rook is not playable. The problem is we've got to worry about ourselves, and that worry leads to the move rook to a5 check. This a file is constantly counterplay. If you now, when you now play the only move you have, which is king back, suddenly this pawn gets its revenge and plays queens with check. You have to move, and this is not a position we want to look at. Like, we just don't want to look. It's over, like, now. It's going to be. I'm wondering how many mates black has versus whether or not it's a mate. I think black has a queen d1 mate, black has a bishop a6 mate, a queen b1 mate. Like, this is just totally over, right? So we don't want to look at this. So we cannot rook f4. Sorry, queen e4 doesn't work. Rook f4 doesn't work for a similar reason. Black has the move queen to f6. And now you can't play rook h4. You could try rook takes rook, and black can't take this piece. Like bishop takes, loses to mate. Look at the A8 square being used. We use A1, we use H1, now we're using A8. So all the corners are being touched. We talk about the geometry of the board, right? That is broad, that even the corners can be significant. And queen takes loses simply to queen D8, and you have to throw your queen in the way and get mated. So that's not possible. The problem is the queen just shifted up to F6, and now black can play queen to A6 check. Surprise, surprise. Now you have to go back. Again, this darn queen shows up on the board, and it's two queens, and white's gonna lose. So those two moves don't work because of that defense. So the correct move was the move that was suggested. That is rook to F3. All right, that stays away from the queen F6 idea because you're able to play rook H3. Rook takes queen is not possible. And so it just works now. Everything is fine. Queen at rook F3, threatening rook H3, and your rook still cannot move. Your rook has no moves or it's gonna be mate. So black has only one defense. I wonder who sees this defense. This defense is cool. Who sees the only way black can defend the H3 square? I hope that all of you see it.
They're gonna see it. They're gonna see it. Hints. I love it. Come on, guys. I'm not giving any more hints.
Black has to defend H3 somehow. What can black do to defend H3? That is the question.
Guinevere, what you got? She put it in the chat. You want to say it in person as well, Guinevere?
You promote the pawn into a knight.
Very good job. Excellent job. The only move is to ask for a knight. It's the only way to guard H3. It's the only move. Everything else is frozen. So this is the only way to guard H3. So now what do we have? We've had en passant. We've had a knight promote, under promotion in a puzzle. For the others, usually white wins by under promotion in these puzzles. Black wins. But now the most important thing happened on the board, and that is we forced the pawn to not become a queen. That was the most important thing. Now we don't have to worry about these problems when we took stuff that black was able to check and then promote to a queen, because now it's a knight on G1. All right, I'm gonna speed this up because like I said, this puzzle takes a while. The correct move now is rook to F4. Now we don't have to worry about this queen, and we have that terrific threat. Queen F6, the only defense. And now we get to play rook takes F5. The point is, if queen takes, we still have our mate. And if bishop takes, we still have this mate. We have to throw things in the way, and it's going to be checkmate. So the game is over. Rook takes F5. Looks like we've done it. We're at this end, except there is this move, queen here with check, that we have to think about. And it looks like we can block the check. And the point is, after takes and takes, white has a couple of threats. White wants to take the A7 pawn and then go to A8, or white wants to play rook to C5, challenging this bishop and advance his pawn down the board. And this is all so fast that white's going to win the game. By the way, I told you the D pawn, like initially we were saying how the pawn, what would be the thing that wins? And here it's the pawn that wins the game because this knight can't get back fast enough and it's checkmate on the back rank. Here is when the position gets really crazy, and I'm going to show you the end because it's so wild. If you play this queen move, black can play the sickest move ever. Black plays king to G8, the move that keeps saving black. Black no longer has to worry about mate on the back rank, but it looks like white can play queen takes and start pushing this pawn, which is going to be a really fast pawn to become a queen. The problem is knight to E2, and when you push and you're like, yum, yum, the game is over, black plays knight to C1 check. You can't play king here because of check. King takes knight, bishop takes, and all of a sudden, black's up a piece and black's winning. Like, how did that happen? Black just saved the game with this knight. And if you decide, okay, I'm not going to go there, Black plays check. You still can't go here because of check. You have to go up, check. And black draws like a miracle with the knight that appeared on the board for no reason, like out of just ridiculousness. So all the way back here, I know this is a crazy puzzle. All the way back here, white had to play the only move, and that is king to b1. That looks crazy because check attacks the king, forks the rook, and if you play here, you get mated. However, the winning move is king to a1, which is like, what? Why is the king on a1? Well, you still can't take this rook because of checkmate. You can't take with the bishop because of checkmate. So your only choice to deal with the mates is to go back. And now white plays queen to a5. The point is after king to g8, white trades, white starts to push. And when the knight tries to do this checkmate, it's not in, I mean, this perpetual check, it's not in time because white plays push. And when you play this check, up, check, king here, check, we take the knight, and bishop takes rook is too late because the pawn was the hero all along. And that's the puzzle. White's winning.
Amazing.
From this position, could you have guessed that the hero of the game would be this pawn on d4, and that it's going to be important for the king to move to a1? So I know that was a really complex puzzle with a lot of storylines. And you can see why this position is so hard. But this is the greatest puzzle I've ever created, and I don't think I'm going to make a better puzzle.
Amazing. Beautifully, beautifully shown as well. And great job to so many of you for figuring out different parts of this puzzle. Wow, absolutely astonishing. Yes, Genevieve, clap, clap. So we've got our tournament starting in 13 minutes, and you're going to have the pleasure of having the best commentator in history talking about your own games. Don't be shy. No, don't be shy. So join that. I'm going to keep spamming the chat with the link. But in the meantime, in the 15 minutes before that starts, we have the opportunity to get some questions for Maurice. Two options. You can put it in the chat, or you can ask to be unmuted. Raise your hand or type your question in the chat. So this is a great opportunity. I think, Jolanthia, do you have a question?
Yes. I had a question. Like, do you have any more studies like this? Could you send it in the chat, because I would like to solve it. I mean, this was like a really good puzzle. I mean, it would be nice to solve the like puzzle even with some help, and then have the pleasure of solving it. Solve like something like even like super Grandmasters couldn't solve. But this puzzle really
Yeah.
show me.
I have we could be here until tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally have at least 150 puzzles, at least. It's insane. I have so many crazy puzzles. Some puzzles is like from outer space. This puzzle actually made sense compared to some of my puzzles that are just absolutely insane. Jen, I could send you a PGN of a couple of puzzles for people to work on. And yeah, they could work on it privately.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
We don't have time. We don't have time to go over all my crazy puzzles here. It's some of them are in my course, my Secrets of Chess Geometry course. A few of them, but most of them are not.
That's amazing. Chessable course by Maurice, Secrets of Chess Geometry. That's a good source for more. Do you have another favorite composer, Maurice, that they could like look up online or get more puzzles from?
Oh my goodness, there's so many great composers. Mitrofanov is a psycho. His puzzles are so sick. Oh my God, they're so good. He comes to mind. He just jumps to mind. The one that also jumps to mind is Kasparian. Kasparyan. Kasparian. He has domination puzzles. He has a book about those puzzles. He has some beautiful puzzles that are just like, just heaven on a stick. Like just You're like, what? This is real? And then it's real. I love that. Certainly Henri Rink was a fantastic puzzle composer as well. I love his puzzles. Troitsky, his puzzles are genius. Sam Lloyd. I mean, the puzzle creators are great. And like I said, it's great way to train your counter intuition. These ideas don't look normal, and then they're just there. Like, what? You play chess like this, and you drop moves like this on people you play, and they just resign because they can't do anything.
Yeah, and it's also very practical. I mean, this with the pawn on g6 there, that is a killer in a practical game as well. I've won a couple of games like that.
You know, one of my favorite things about the puzzle I just showed you, I mean, there are a number of themes that show up in the puzzle, but one thing that I really like about the puzzle is that white never checks black. If you think about it, white doesn't make a single check in the whole puzzle. In fact, black checks white twice in the puzzle. When black plays queen a6 to d3, queen a6 check, queen d3 check, when the king has to go to a1. But white never checks black. White just keeps making threats on every move. Every move's a threat. Queen e1, queen e5, rook f2, g4, queen d5, rook f3, rook f4, rook f5. White never checks inside the whole puzzle, but every move is forced. And that's one of my favorite things about this puzzle. One of. The other thing is what I showed you, like en passant happens, under promotion happens, a triangulation of the king. I mean, it's a pretty sick theme here in this puzzle. And you're right, Pontus, the pawn on g6 is a monster, and it's the thing that dominates the puzzle.
Nadia, question?
Hey, Maurice, this was fantastic. Hello, everyone. I actually this year have something with the university with chess and math, and we have classes, but these kind of puzzles, it just blows my mind. And I want to ask you, what advice you will give to the girls that is, how they can start creating their own puzzles? I am retired from chess, but chess is my first love. And I always encourage people to start building something. So what will be your advice for the girls? How can they start with very small ones to reach to these kind of levels?
Great question. You're too young to be retired, Nadia. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, retired from competitive, but chess will be always in my heart.
I know the feeling. It's in my heart as well. So there are a couple of things when you're creating puzzles. One very important thing is to have an engine of some kind, right? You need Stockfish, Fritz, whatever the engine is, so that the puzzle can, you can check the puzzle. You don't want to create a puzzle and then at the end, the engine's like, oh, there are 4 different ways to win. This is a terrible puzzle. You must have one solution. So you have to have some kind of engine. However weak it is, it will be able to tell you whether or not your puzzle has only one solution. That's super important. But how do you create the puzzle in the first place? Well, I start with ideas. But one way you can start to create like a very simple puzzle is to start with a chess position that you think is interesting, and then work your way backwards. Working your way backwards. That is a common way to create puzzles. What do I mean? Let me share my screen again so maybe we can do something.
Kind of like reverse engineer, right?
Yes, we're reverse engineering. That's a very good way of putting it. So for example, let's go back to this puzzle. All right, so this puzzle, if we started here, right? Like this was the position you wanted. You don't even have to have the rook on the board. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to remove I use ChessBase to create the puzzles. So this allows me to set up any position that I want. So I'm going to remove this rook and I'm going to start this as move 1. It's white to move. Let's say somewhere I thought, here's an idea. If there's a bishop on g8 and I play bishop f6 check, it's mate, right? That's mate. In fact, I can start the puzzle without the queen. Like, that's mate. That's mate. Okay. So if that's mate, how could I make it more interesting? Well, it'd be interesting if a queen had to block somehow. So let's put the queen anywhere. So we can put the queen anywhere, right? We could say the queen is here, or the queen is here, or the queen is here, here, or here, or the queen is here. Well, not there because it'll take my bishop. Okay, not here because it'll take my bishop. But the queen could be here, here, or here. And that looks like it. I don't see where else the queen could be. The queen couldn't be here because my king would be in check. So those are places I could put the queen. So let's put the queen where I put it, which was on G3, where it ended up in this puzzle, G3. So here, the queen has to block. So now I'm going to work my way backwards again. How could I get to this position? There's a lot of ways I could get to this position. I could have my bishop here, or here, or here, or here. Here I could take the queen, but it would be a draw, so okay. I can't be on this diagonal because it would be check to the king, so not there. So it turns out those 4 spaces are where it could be checked. So let's pick one. We can pick the one that ends up in the game. It's this one. So now we actually have a puzzle. It is white to move and win. Not a hard puzzle. White goes check, the queen blocks, and it's mate. That's a simple puzzle. Pretty simple, straightforward puzzle, right? You just made up a puzzle. You started with the position that you wanted to get to, and you figured out how to back your way into the puzzle. And that's a puzzle. Now, to make it more complicated, I would be like, that's not, if I had to do this, I'd be like, that's boring. Bishop f6, queen, blah, blah. No, everybody's gonna look at me and laugh. Everybody's gonna find that move. So how can I make it more interesting? Well, maybe something else is guarding this square, like a rook. And let's put the rook here. Now I can't play bishop f6 because bishop f6, I'm the one who's gonna lose. So I need to make another move that will cause this rook to not be able to take on f6. What kind of move could I make? Some kind of queen move. What would be a cool queen move? Hey, a check. So how can I put the queen on a square that's check and forces the rook to take? There's a square right there. Wait a minute, it's black to move. So if I can play this check, the rook has to take, then I play bishop f6, I get my position. Cool, so where could my queen come from? My queen can come from anywhere, but I can't have it on a square that's actually another solution. Like for example, this is where the trick comes in. If it's here, then white wouldn't play this check. White wouldn't play this check because white has mate. Why wouldn't white play mate? So easy. So now I put the queen on a different square. What if I put it here? And now I can play the move. It's like, but there's another solution. This is where I spend 2 hours in the bed. It's like, there's another solution now, because now instead of playing queen a1, white could play bishop f6 because the queen guards the bishop. So now this is where the biggest danger comes. Like, where can I put the queen where it's bishop f6 is not possible, the queen can't checkmate? What other square could I find? And the square I could find that works, this is when we're going next level, is to put the queen on a8. And now I have a puzzle. So you see, that's working backwards. I have a couple more elements in this puzzle that even got us to this position. But this is how you can create a puzzle. You get a position, you think, this is cool. Now, how can I get from here, from this puzzle, how can I get to this position? So I work my way backwards and keep going backwards and checking my solutions as I go along. And that's how I think most puzzle creators create their puzzles.
Brilliantly stated. I have a theory that, puzzles is the way to unlocking more gender parity in chess, because I think that puzzles is all about competing against yourself. And studies have shown that girls are just as good or even better than boys at that. Whereas, socially, sometimes we're not as encouraged to compete against other people. So this is like brilliant idea to compose your own puzzles. Elsie,
may I jump in?
Yeah.
May I jump in on that point? Because I think it's one of those things. I love what you all are doing here, and the idea of gender parity is super important. And I want to state very firmly that I'm an ally. That I want to see more girls playing chess. It's very important for me to see more underrepresented groups playing chess, whether it be Black or Latina and the like. all types should be playing this wonderful game of ours. And so I want to just take a really firm stance in that direction. And if something like puzzle solving is cool, then I appreciate that. But I think in all ways, we as professional chess players have neglected welcoming more underrepresented groups to the sport. Of course, I myself come from an underrepresented group in chess, being African-American or born in Jamaica. And so I want to see the door bust open to others coming in.
I'd love to hear it. Awesome. Thank you so much. Elsie, you've had your hand up for a while. By the way, the tourney is closing in 1 minute. You can probably join round 2 if you're not in it already, but I just posted that link in the chat one more time. Elizabeth, Guinevere, get in there. Let's do it. Elsie, your question. If Elsie can't ask, Yvonne.
How,
Oh, there you are. Go ahead, Elsie. Yeah.
how do you make your puzzles so interesting and like so hard for some people and grandmasters?
Like I said, I just experiment. Sometimes I get lucky. The puzzle that I showed you, that's my favorite puzzle of all time. I got very lucky putting some of the elements together, but I started with a core idea of the cross pin, and then I started putting other things on the board, and it just started magically coming together. It took me about three plus hours to create this puzzle. It was very satisfying at the end, but you never know when it's going to be easy or hard. There's some puzzles you create that you think are really fun puzzles, and a strong player like Pontus or Jennifer, they'll be like, or Nadia, they'll be like, dude, this is boring. Hey, I see the move immediately. And so I, as a player myself, I think that's very helpful, because I have to somehow be objective. I have to step away from my own puzzle and say, if I had seen this puzzle for the first time, would I know that this is the solution? And that's really, really hard to do, because I'm looking at the puzzle, right? So to see it as an outsider, your own creation, very, very difficult. So that's just something that I think you basically have to create the puzzle. And if you think it's cool, give it to somebody else and see what they do. And if they solve it quickly, then you know maybe it's not that hard. And if they don't, then you have a puzzle in your hand.
Maurice, the tournament is underway. I'm going to set up one breakout room in case you guys want to join that. In the meanwhile, I'll look at some of your games. For those of you who aren't playing, you can take part in the commentary using the chat. Maurice, this is the game that we got up now. Do you see my screen? We've got Liz Cassidy of Kenya playing against Bunny Gambit of the USA. By the way, the Kenya girls are going to be playing an Olympiad qualifier in a week. So this is really important practice for them. And I think some of our girls are actually really favored to get some of those spots.
Awesome. I'm seeing Bunny Gambit take a while in that last move. Finally play this move E5. It's a blitz game, so you got to try to be a bit more intuitive and play a little bit faster when you're playing. And that last move I'm not a fan of, because it lost time. Black really should be developing pieces, and Knight of 6 was a really cool move, but that I would not have played. But at the moment, a lot of space, and this position just got super intense. White has pressure on the E file, H3 to deal with that pin. It looks like Black has to capture right now, or maybe take on E4. Something has to happen, because there's going to be energy explosion on the D5 square. It's either take the knight or take on E4. I don't see any other move. Bishop back will play G4. So it looks like takes was necessary. And now giving up that bishop, I think is going to be good for White in the long run, because those light squares are going to get super weak. So White should just take back here. White has 3 choices. They're probably all good. Probably bishop takes. Queen takes is also looking okay. But by the way, can they hear me? I think they got to put their thing on mute. Otherwise, they're going to hear my suggestions.
Yeah, that's fine. We usually do this because it's like a training tournament, but we also have a breakout room for people to join if they don't want to hear anything. So just like if you're giving like a specific move, like that's checkmate, it's usually we don't do that. But other than that, it's totally fine.
Gotcha. All right, so I'll avoid any of those suggestions. Right now, it's a pretty reasonable position. Yeah, pretty reasonable. Everything is looking good. Well-developed pieces, a lot of control happening. So the only thing I'm a little concerned about is how much time is being used in the opening. That clock is part of chess. The clock is part of chess. It's not the clock, oh, too bad you lost on time. It's, hey, you lost on time. Nobody cares if you lost on time. Nobody's crying for you. The clock is part of the game, and you have to use the clock as being on your side. The clock has to be on your side when you play. That doesn't mean playing super fast. That doesn't mean blitzing your opponent, but be very aware of the clock. And if you're not aware of the clock, you will lose or not win in positions that you should win in. By the way, you don't play fast when you are a lot of time and your opponent is under time pressure. Never play fast when your opponent has a little time on the clock. Never play fast unless you're, or even when you're losing, never play fast. Look for the most challenging move you can find. Study it carefully and don't look for forcing moves because that's what your opponent's looking at. Never play fast. It's one of my big secrets is to not play fast when your opponent is in time pressure. In fact, the slower you play, the more tension you bring to your opponent. Be careful and look for challenging moves that are not forcing moves. What happened? We're switching positions?
I just checked briefly checking another game. Yeah, maybe we should just stick with this one because it's material equal. So it's a pretty good one to kind of like sink our teeth into. I'll stick on this one. Yeah.
Yeah, something I'm noticing about this game and I'm concerned about for players at this level is that they do not properly use pawn breaks. So this last move, h4, is just like a pawn being pushed, but white's main pawn break is the move f2 to f4. That pawn wants to go up the board. So your rook really belongs on the f file. You want to play f4, you want to open up the game. So to me, I would have played knight h4 with the idea of knight f5, and then look to play the move f4. Like this would have been what I want to do and play for f4, right? Like rook f1 maybe, or depending on what black does, but open up a file for your rooks. It's easy to get the pieces out. It's hard to open up files for your rooks. You need to get the minor pieces out. And at the moment, we can notice that both sides are not playing for any pawn breaks. They're bringing their pieces to the center, but no pawn breaks to open up the game. You cannot get to the other side because there's a great wall of pawns that's stopping you from getting to the other player. And so you have to figure out a way. Pieces alone will not cut it. You can't just duck and dodge and weave around all of the pawns, not just your opponent's pawns, but your own pawns. So you see here how white constantly and black both are playing piece moves on every single move, and neither one is aiming for a pawn break. In black's case, pushing the pawn to
h5
to c4. h5 I'm not a fan of at all.
Yeah.
But pushing the pawn to c4 is the main plan in the position. How to prepare it? You got to prepare b5 somehow. The queen doesn't belong on b6. You got to move the queen away somehow, which is problematic at the moment. But move the queen away, play b5, play c4, break open the game, and get chances where you have space. That's what's holding black's position back. Black doesn't know what to do because the pieces don't have anything to do. Like, what are we supposed to do? These pawns are laughing at you. I mean, look at the white pawns. They're like, I dare you, double dare you to take me. There's just no progress possible. So black, who has spent a lot of time, is now playing queen a5. And now finally this possible threat of b5 and c4, which still has some calculation that needs to be done in order to make it really effective. But at least it's a plan, a direction to try to go in, is to get this going and to break open the position and give black some chances. Otherwise, black's not getting it. Meantime, white has no real obvious way to break into black's position either. So that's why this, I think, holds up a lot of players at this level. They don't understand pawn breaks well enough and how you use pawns to open up your opponent's position like a can of sardines. They get stuck looking for threats. When they know threats, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? You've got to establish pawn breaks. Personally, I would shut down Black's pawn break with the move a4. I might also play the move knight d2 immediately to look to the c4 square.
Yeah, I like 92 because also this H pawn is very tender. I feel like even though I agree that making way for F4 was better, I do like that H4 induced H5 because it's like we have total control of the G5 square now, and you don't really have control over the G4 square in the same way.
But here's the thing, Jen, H4 didn't induce H5 unless you're like a hypnotist, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You didn't have to play the move H5. H5 just weakened yourself. And so I wasn't appreciative of H5, and now we've seen a lost pawn. Is that the game?
Well, yeah. So what happened is after knight H2, yes, I totally agree. But the fact that H4 was responded to by H5, that was Black didn't need to do that. Exactly.
Yeah, that was a very clear mistake, trying to stop this pawn from going down the board, and that caused a big problem. And now the pawn became a target, and now White has won the pawn. And this is typically what happens in these kind of games where, you know, you're a threat here, a threat there, you miss a threat, and then suddenly you lose the game. But if we're going to build our strategic muscles, we've got to think in terms of long-term plans that will open up the game for all our pieces to party. And that is done by pawn breaks. And so that's why also the next move, b4, I'm definitely not a fan of b4, because now you don't even get to play c4. The whole point of b5 was for c4, and you've locked up that side completely. So White's like, oh, nothing's happening over there. Let's go attack you on the other side. And here comes White with a huge, very annoying threat of taking the bishop. And now it's some bad news. It can happen if White finds the next move. And Black is now down to also 19 seconds, which is a real issue here.
Yeah, very nicely played here by White to like after you know playing H4, which I know you didn't like, Maurice. I do like that she went after this pawn and is now coming in for the attack. Nicely
Black
played.
has got to move, no? Black, it's White.
Yeah.
White just played queen f5, and Black finally played a move, and Black is in big trouble with only 3 seconds left. Right here, White should just pause, be careful, look around, and give a breath and then play. Because Black has only 3 seconds, so it's a dangerous situation for Black. Then you make a good
Rook
move.
F6. Good try. Really good try.
Yes. And 90, by the way, 95, you have to make sure that you saw Rook F6 and you had a reasonable response to it. Because Black expected to see this move, knight takes e5, and Black was prepared for it. So
Yeah.
Rook F6 played knight c4. Is that what happened?
C4, yes. Knight C4, Rook takes F5, knight A5. Wow, very, very well spotted by White. And there it is. She wins the game. Well done. While we're waiting for the next round, let me take a quick couple questions. We have one from Francisca. What would your advice be on improving board visualization, especially for training children and beginners or intermediates?
You know, I have an app. The app is called Maurice Ashley Teaches Chess. If you go in the App Store, you can find it. It's probably the cheapest lessons that I give ever. It's like $1.99, just about as cheap as they come. And the best part of the app are the skill builders, and it's all about board visualization. The skill builders, like all about board visualization. I think that it's important that you train to see the board in various ways. Practice is important, but training to visualize the board is super, super important. And so that I would give as advice, a huge way of just training little exercises. Studies are another great way. Easy studies, easy puzzles are a really great way to train seeing the board as well, not just playing. Playing alone does not cut it. But doing lots and lots of puzzles is a great way to see the board.
Love it. All right. Well, we've got our next round underway. Let's see. Where should we start? Let's go look at Addie V versus Shiny Knight, because we've got a Sicilian. That's my favorite opening. Pontus Carlson's favorite opening as well. Always puts a smile on my face. And Addie V looks like she's playing some kind of Grand Prix type
attack.
close size. Yeah.
I don't like that bishop move. Yeah, you get tricked. Bishop comes out and then gets attacked. So this is a problem. You have to go back up, and that has definitely caused a loss of a tempo for White, and Black's already attacking in the middle. So black is doing well here.
Yeah, I think that her plan is to play bishop c4 when your opponent plays like knight c6, but then when they play a6, you have to kind of adjust your plan.
Exactly.
So that's let's just click on this game, yeah.
By the way, I want to point out, so we've got to be thinking in terms of pawn breaks from the very beginning, like pawn breaks, pawn breaks, pawn breaks. That's why white often plays knight f3 and d4.
Mm-hmm.
You can explain almost every opening, by the way, folks, with pawn breaks. If not every opening. Pawn breaks are the heart of chess. So you have to understand which pawn breaks you're looking for. Which pawn break am I looking for? In this case, white likes to play d4. In this case, black wants to play d5. So you're always studying the pawn breaks. If you don't have a pawn break, your position is going to get stuck inside of your own camp because your pawns are going to be in your way. And that's why you need pawn breaks. So if we fast forward in this game to the current position.
Yeah, current position we got now.
We got this. Notice how white is attacking. White has brought the queen over to that side, the knight over to that side. White is not thinking pawn breaks at all. White's like, I'm going to attack. I'm pushing. I'm going to get my knight over there. White didn't develop the bishop on c1. White's brought the queen over, and white is just attacking. However, it's not so easy to break down the position. So white will need a pawn break sooner or later. Like my eyes now, and I'm sure Pontus's eyes and Jennifer's eyes and Nadia's eyes, we're all looking at moves like f5 or e5. Like those pawn breaks are jumping in our brain. Like we need to open up this game, and f5 opens up the line for the bishop on c1, right? e5 prepares the potential for for chasing the knight away. This is less a pawn break and more an attacking move on the defensive piece. So a key piece defending that side, very, very dangerous move just got played, and this will be super difficult. Black must be very careful at the moment. Fortunately, has a way to deal with this. That's not the greatest thing to do, but does have a way to deal with this threat. But there's certainly danger now. And it's all those pawns. The pawn has so much energy. When Philidor, in the 1700s, Philidor says the pawns are the soul of chess. They really are. And you have to understand pawns more than you understand anything on the chessboard, because they are the things that really do all the dirty work. They open up lines for your pieces. They get space. They sacrifice themselves. Pawns are awesome. I know they don't look awesome and seem awesome, but they dictate chess in so many ways. And so you have to look for your pawn breaks. This move e5, did black has moved. What did black do?
Oh, yeah, black played knight to d5.
Knight to d5, and now it's possible to play very aggressively here as white. So we've got a very nasty threat in the position, and it looks like black has only one way to deal with it, but it seems perfectly fine. And if I were black, I would have played it yesterday.
Yeah. This move like h5, yeah, there you go. Move like
Yeah.
h5 would be very dangerous, because I wouldn't think too hard before just snapping that off.
So now white's got great play on the dark squares. By the way, there was an artificial pawn break because the F file opened for white. So that was sort of like a pawn break. The purpose is to open the line when you push pawns. But this wasn't really a pawn break. This is a line open because of an exchange. But white is unable to take advantage of the F file in this position. And the attack that white was hoping for hasn't quite materialized. So it's still a long way to go before white is able to pull off any attacks. And white jumped so quickly, and now white is like single-mindedly, not about developing, not about pawn breaks. White is like, I want to mate, and this alone is not going to work or should not work. And black has to be careful. Black has just played this move, knight to c3. Great move, like a great move. And now black has a fantastic straightforward defense, but must be played in the right move order. Black can definitely save the game, but just simply has to play the right first move. And black is completely winning.
Let's see if black can save this. What a game. What a game.
Yeah, mate is
Yard
on the
defense
way.
here.
Yeah, mate is on the way, so black has to be careful. Black actually has what looks like a couple of defenses now that I look at it, but one is really, really terrifying. And that starts it. Good idea. Just get a piece in the meantime. So great idea. And now that you've eliminated his bishop, white has to move the king somewhere.
Let's see where she goes.
And white is taking a long time here, but it kind of doesn't matter where you put your king. So that's fine. Now it's up to black to deal with the one threat that white has. White is currently down 2 pieces. So black just needs to find the one defensive move, and the whole attack looks like it shuts down almost immediately.
Yeah, well played by black for your defense. Let's see if she finds the right move, and then we can switch games if so.
Yeah, let's wait though. I want to know. Is black,
see if he does
black
it.
gonna find the move?
There it is.
Oh, black is playing some chess. That's a great
Nice
move.
Nice
That's a
move. By the way,
great-
Maurice, I remember you saying something in one of our US chess camp commentaries about how moves that allow en passant are ones that great players sometimes miss. Like this type of move h5, because usually you don't let your opponent do en passant on you like that. But
Yeah.
here, of course, it would be a horror show to take this, because not only would your attack be done, but the queens would be traded off the board, and that would spell the end of white's attacking chances.
Yep. But with the pawn on h5 now, white really has very little opportunity to attack. There's one last hope to maybe play g4, then take on h5, then take on g6. I mean, it's so many moves to try to get your pieces into the game. And it looks like black decided, I'm going to take that pawn and stop all that. And now there is literally no way to break the black king position. And you see here, right, really important, like white played a short-term idea. Let me get my knight on g5 and put my queen on h4 and attack. Let me attack. That stuff doesn't work against strong players, right? That just doesn't work. You have to build your army, then open up lines, or build while opening up lines, and let the force of everybody get in the attack. The fact that this rook on a1 was not a part of the attack, the bishop on c1 was not a part of the attack, that just makes me just know there was nothing here for black to worry about. And that is when you're not using your entire army to work. Like that you need your entire army to be here. Black is in big trouble, down a piece and pawns, 2 pawns.
What? Time, 2 minutes to 9 seconds.
Yeah, it did take black too long to get to this point. And time is a part of the game. And black has not played very quickly here. So black rightfully is going to lose if white just lasts the next few moves. And I'm going to tell you again, time is part of the game. It doesn't matter how well you play. Time is a part of chess. You have to respect the clock. And now black is making mistakes. So that's important. Learn to play quickly, folks. Learn to manage your time properly. Nobody cares if you lost and you were winning on the board. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you.
Yeah,
You can play
absolutely.
a great game, but time is part of chess, a part of tournament chess anyway.
And by the way, white was starting to come back a little bit on the position as well.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
yeah.
It got super unclear by the end. Too many chances were given to white here. But again, I think it was because of time pressure. Black played a great game. White pushed for the attack. But remember, it's not enough to just attack with 1 or 2 pieces, and it's very important that you make sure that you bring all your pieces into the game. This position, white is winning by an entire piece with no counterplay anywhere. So an offer of a trade of rooks. Wow, right on time, by the way, right on time makes a ton of sense. The rook moves, and now what's the time situation? 9.7 seconds only for black. So not only is black losing on the board, but also losing on the clock. But there may be some tricks. If white, I want to see what white does next. Chasing the queen away. Awesome move. That worked well. And so black is at 6.8 seconds. Ooh, white is playing like a beast. Oh my goodness. Now white has a monster move.
Nice.
Ooh, white's dropping it like it's hot. Those are some good chess moves. landing on the board. Look at this, attacking a rook, threatening the fork, and now white is up an entire rook. Great game by white. And now let me see white finds what I would say is the killer blow here. Woo! Wow!
Very
Who
well
is this
done.
monster? Nathaliana?
Yeah, definitely underrated. I mean, needs to play more games. This is a 600 rating point upset, but I think that Natalia probably just doesn't play enough on chess.com.
You got
There it is. White wins.
That was
Great job.
extraordinary. Every move would have been the same move that I would have played. Honestly, like every single move was fabulous.
Wow, love to hear it. Nathaliana, that should make your day. By the way, the games you're playing today are really good. So far, pretty impressive play. Glad you're giving Maurice some good stuff to talk about. Yeah, Nadia is very proud because that's one of her girls.
Should be.
All right, let's see. What do we got here? Who's leading this? We've got Elizabeth Cassidy and Addie V both with 2 points. Danielle, yes, we're really excited to actually have Danielle Little join the U.S. chess women team, which will be announced in a couple of weeks more formally. But Danielle, did you want to say hello and ask Maurice your question while we're waiting for the next game to start? Or I'm picking a game. Let me see. Let me ask you to unmute. There you are.
Nice to meet you, Danielle.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here this morning. This has been such a lively chess conversation, just from the puzzles to the extent of your knowledge, Mr. Ashley. Like, I'm so happy to be here. But the question that I wanted to ask you is, in your chess career, what do you feel took your gameplay to the next level? What strategies or techniques did you apply to, your chess, your love of chess, to help get you to where you are now?
Thanks so much. Well, first of all, you can call me Maurice. I'm not your professor. So we'll do that. Secondly, there's so many ideas, so many. We could be talking forever. But I think that the one that took me to the Grandmaster level, you ready? The one that took me to the Grandmaster level was learning to use my opponent's moves against them.
Wow.
To use my opponent's moves against them. I took a martial art, Aikido, which when you say martial arts, people think about like Kung Fu, karate, punch in the face, kicking the butt, whatever, like you think aggression. But Aikido is the exact opposite. Aikido uses your opponent's aggression against them. And so at the same time as I was thinking about this in chess, I realized it was also true of the martial arts. My brother and sister are both black belts in martial arts, more aggressive styles. They're also world champion. My brother's a 3-time world champion kickboxer. My sister's a 6-time world champion boxer. And all of us are in the Hall of Fame in our different specialties.
Amazing. Wow.
And so I was always around the martial arts, and I understood this idea of aggression. And I'd read books like Tao of Jeet Kune Do by Bruce Lee and the like. And so I came up on this thought that I was being too aggressive, and that when I played Grandmasters, they were able to stop all my aggressive moves. And it occurred to me that I could do the opposite, is to take advantage of my opponent's aggression. So I studied a martial art, Aikido, in order to feel it in my body. I didn't just want to have it to be intellectual. I wanted to practice it in my body, because that's what Aikido does. Takes any punch, any kick, any aggression that comes at you and circumvent it back to the opponent, use their own force against them. And once I learned how to do this in chess, my game just took a completely different level. And it was the same time that I became a Grandmaster.
And lastly, just before you go, I'd love to ask this of brilliant minds like yourself. Do you have, and this doesn't have to be chess related necessarily, up to you, but do you have a favorite book?
Oh my goodness. I look to my right and I see bookshelves that have over 1,000 books on my bookshelf.
Wow.
Yeah, I got 6 bookshelves and stacked with all books. And I have no single favorite book, because I've done so many books that I've read that have had incredible impact on my soul. One book, Mastery by George Leonard, pops to mind on this particular topic of Aikido applied to life. I applied it to chess, but he applied it, George Leonard did in this book, Mastery, to life, and the whole idea of becoming a master at anything that you do. It was a hugely important book for me. But you pick the topic, I have a favorite book inside of the topic. Like, it could be, and I don't say I even have favorite books because so many books have had impact on how I think that I wouldn't want to limit it to just one. But there are definitely books that have an impact on my mind. In terms of chess books, the book that jumps to mind is Logical Thinking Move by Move at the beginner level. Secrets of Modern Chess Strategy, Logical Thinking Move by Move is by Irvin Chernev. Secrets of Modern Chess Strategy by Watson on the higher level certainly was a great book. Impactful, Nimzovich, My System was really impactful for me, even though our co-colleague, me and Jen's co-colleague, Yasser Sirwan hates that book and hates Nimzovich, but we appreciate it. Art of Attack by Vukovic. Oh, that was a great book. I love that book. Art of Attack. That's just like a fabulous book that all of you should study. By the way, I want to get back to this game, and I want to point out again the issue of the pawn breaks. We see tactically that Black has this force of a pin on the knight, but note how Black doesn't know what to do to open up the game. Like D5 is the key move that Black needs. Black needs a pawn break, and D5 is definitely the pawn break that Black needs to open up the pieces. Instead, Black plays this move H5, allows White to play Bishop G5, chase away the queen. Then White can move the queen and at some point the queen and the knight and break the pin. You've got to play for pawn breaks. Now this last move, interestingly, the move Bishop G5, although it attacked the queen has been pushed to the square queen of E6, where it attacks a pawn on A2. So aggression is met by defense plus aggression, right? And Black might be able to play the move F6 to attack that bishop. Now White goes for a pawn break in the middle of the board, a very saucy looking move, which is exactly the pawn break White needs, but may be some issues given that White's pawn on A2 is hanging, and there's some stuff happening in the center of the board because of the pin on the knight. So I think this was not quite well prepared enough. Black can win a pawn a couple of ways here, played correctly. So you have to build your pawn breaks. When you make them, you have to build them. Somebody asked me if I read The Art of War. Yes. And I have a number of books, not just The Art of War, but The Art of War for managers in terms of using Art of War for business. I have the 7 classic treatises of ancient Chinese military. That also, I mean, I love that kind of stuff. That I use other ideas to make myself a better chess player. I use philosophy, I use self-help, psychology, military analogy, sports. I'm a huge fan of sports and the mindset that it takes. So I use all of that in order to become a better chess player. And mathematics, like geometry, for example.
I like how White is playing now. I'm not so sure about the move Rook takes C1 because that removed one of the pinned pieces. And now White is going to be able to regain her pawn and with some activity. So
Yes.
in this, the whole point is whenever you make an exchange, you say it so well in our commentary that like, if it's not forced or fabulous, this is Maurice's famous line. It's
the 3 Fs, the 3 Fs of exchanges. It's got to be forced, it's got to be fabulous, or else, and I leave the other F to the listener's imagination, but I'll just in the modest way say, what is the modest way of saying it? It's got to be forced, fabulous, or forget about it. That's what I'll say. Forced, fabulous, or forget it. Exchanges are not things that you do casually. You must do it because it is absolutely the best thing to do. And in this position, White is now back in the game.
Oh no! Black on the
backward
queen.
moves.
Oh.
Backward moves. Remember I talked about backward moves, folks? Backward moves. The bishop coming backward. It's something we don't see often. And I talked about that, and it's hugely important to know. Backward moves are moves that are often missed. And when I say geometry, that is something else I'm talking about. The ability to see backwards. That was exactly what my puzzle contained. The first puzzle I showed today is those backward moves. That's a huge aspect of my secret to chess geometry.
Well, beautifully done, Elizabeth, to come back in that game. Wow, we just got a couple more games going on. Any last minute questions for Maurice? This is the time. This has been fantastic, Maurice. I mean, it's been really inspiring to have you visit us. And I really think the questions and the play and the solutions that they found were really impressive. Delilah, did you have something you wanted to say? Anyone last remarks to Maurice?
Have you read the Percy Jackson series?
I have not, I have to say. Is there some instruction in there I should be following?
No, it's just it's like Greek mythology, like fantasy series.
I saw the
think it's
movie. I
really
saw
good.
one of the movies, but I didn't read the book.
Who do you think is going to be the upcoming world chess champions as Hafsat?
Those two players are very, very strong. I have no idea. If you forced me to make a guess, I might say Ding Liren just because he's slightly higher rated and he's it's going to be easier for him against only one opponent. But Nepo has so much experience now. I think he's playing very, very well. I think that's going to be a hard one. They're pretty evenly matched. Should be a close match.
Should be a good one. Liliana says Ding as well, but then she said or Nepo. Hey, Liliana, you're covering your bases there.
bet the same amount of money on both. You can't lose. Ooh, Black missed a checkmate. Black missed checkmate and won. Oh no. I mean, maybe Black wants to have more fun in this position, but Black made it one, and oops, here goes all those pawns. At least
well, there she goes. There she goes.
Black will win this game, or should win. Looks like time is an issue, but Black is playing very fast now.
Yeah, really well done. By the way, good luck to all the Kenyan girls in the nationals. We're gonna have to be following your results. So, can anybody tell me where that's gonna be? Bernice, where's it gonna be? We got a question in the chat. Where are the nationals gonna be for Kenya girls? She's still playing? I don't think so. I think her game's over. Oh no, she's still playing. Oops, sorry, Bernice. Her name is Bobby Reeder. Yeah, she's the white player here, hoping to make a stalemate.
You made that point so quickly. It reminds me of a trick that I did that it's saying that stalemate. I don't know if you made it because you saw this funny stalemate, Jen. If you could back up in this game.
Yeah, I did see a possibility here somewhere. Yeah. Where were you thinking?
Back one, like white in this, go back one move.
Okay.
As white. So white could play the move H5 and Black pretend Black takes. And now play King B1. And if Black pre-moves F2, and then King B2, and now if Black queens.
Or rooks, right?
Or rooks, yeah, but naturally plays fast in queens, it's a stalemate. Very funny stalemate.
Yeah, yeah. So
I tricked somebody like this once in my tournament career.
In a tournament game, wow.
In a tournament game, I was dead lost, and I saw this trick coming, and my opponent fell for it.
Oh, what a beautiful moment that must be. Hey, congrats to our winners. We've got, I think, a few people who got perfect scores, including, is that Elizabeth Cassidy there? I think so. And then 2 Natalias and Natalia from Colombia. So fantastic job. Wow. Great work, ladies. Big thank you to Maurice. I'm going to actually put the ability for you guys to say goodbye now. Yeah, you are all allowed to unmute yourselves now if you want to say goodbye and say thank you to Maurice for the incredible insights that he's given to you. I hope you're inspired. A lot of you guys have more time to study chess and make puzzles during the holidays. So this should give you all of that energy to be the best that you can be during this holiday. Have an amazing time with your family and also use the time to get even better at chess.
I really appreciate it, everyone. I'd like to say thank you very much for having me. It's been an honor. I'd like to add also, you can reach me at my, like you can email me or reach me on social media. And if you have a question that you just want an answer to, I'm happy to respond to questions via email. It might take a while because I get a lot of emails, but I'll try to get to them. And I hope one day to visit your country. I'm a big traveler, as all us chess players tend to be. I have been to Kenya. I haven't been to Kenya in a while. I was in both Nairobi and Mombasa. I had a lot of fun when I was there. I've been over to 8 African countries now. And that's been a real pleasure of mine to be able to travel. But I know you all are from different places in the world. I'd love to visit one of these days. So thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Maurice?
Maurice, thank you for this opportunity to share your knowledge. And Jen and Pontus, thanks for inviting us. We really appreciate it. Our girls are learning English, but they love it. So it was a pleasure to be here with the girls. And thank you, Maurice, for such an amazing lesson that you gave to all of us.
You join the meeting.
Thank you, Nadia. Absolutely. I'm going to be in Colombia one of these days. So that's got to happen.
And Judy, thank you, Judy, from the Lighthouse Chess Club. Speaking of Mombasa, for also putting this together and bringing all the Kenya ladies in. Thank you very much to Judy and Pontus. And of course to Maurice. Have an amazing holiday, Maurice. And it's very generous of you to give out your email. Guys, those are the types of opportunities. You grab them in life, right? If somebody like Maurice says, hey, have you got a question for me? Make it a good one. But the people who take those opportunities, I'm going to tell you, they end up being very successful. So congrats to everybody on all you've achieved, and have a wonderful holiday. When you leave, feel free to unmute and say goodbye.
Good
Bye,
luck
thank you.
in the tournaments, and use the holidays to train, because now you're off school for different time. I mean, some are off for 3 weeks, some are off for 2 months. Use the time. Use the time, you know, because it's not coming back. We can tell you more about that. So use the time when you are young.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Wise words.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for having me again. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Maurice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Bye.